He entered prison thinking he could survive by silence, but silence quickly turned into a weapon used against him. Pike, the inmate with a cruel grin, demanded submission and marked him as prey. Every day became a dangerous game, every night a test of endurance. Yet in the middle of concrete walls and endless whispers, one man broke the pattern Hale, a guard who should have stayed distant, but instead hovered at the edge of forbidden closeness. Their encounters were brief, tense, alive with sparks neither dared to name. A glance too long, a warning whispered through a steel slot, a hand stopping a blade an inch from his skin, each moment pulled Noah deeper into something no one in this place could ever allow. When rumors spread, danger sharpened. When investigators asked, silence felt like confession. And when freedom finally came, it arrived with one haunting word, survive. But was it freedom, or just the start of another prison built from desire? I never believed a floor could rise to meet a person, but the courthouse tiles bucked when the judge said 18 months. My public defender squeezed my elbow. "You'll be okay," he whispered. The words rolled off me like rain off plexiglass. I had stolen a set of headphones and a jacket I couldn't afford. Stupid, small, fixable. The sentence felt like a door slammed by a storm I hadn't seen coming. They took my belt and shoelaces before they took my name. At booking, a camera halo blinded me, then the click like a stapler on my face. "Turn," I turned. "Open your mouth." I opened. A kid with a shaved head stood ahead of me, eyes darting, memorizing exits that didn't exist. When the van's doors shut, the air thinned, metal bench, wrists humming where the cuffs kissed bone. I watched my reflection in the scratched window, a boy trying to look like a man who had it coming. The man across from me smiled without kindness. First time he asked, "Don't talk much, don't owe anyone, don't sleep dumb." He laughed once, like he had rehearsed the advice until it tasted wrong. The prison rose from gravel like a factory that forgot it once made anything useful. Fences layered on fences. The gate swallowed the van, and I felt, for the first time, the weight of a door closing behind me. Inside we moved in a slow, obedient line. A guard read my wristband. Covington, Noah, unit. Showers hit like December rain. Hands up, turn. My skin prickled, then numbed. A tattooed man across the room raised an invisible glass to me. He mouthed a word I didn't want to decipher. By evening, my box was a concrete apology with a steel sink attached to a toilet. The bed groaned beneath the thin mattress like it had heard too many stories. My cellie, a wiry guy with a chessboard face, sat cross-legged, carving tiny squares into his thumbnail. Noah, I tried. He kept scraping. You snore. I don't think so. Good. No questions about my charge, my city, my mom. I swallowed the urge to collect facts like armor. I lay down and listened to the building breath pipes, boots, keys. Somewhere a voice sang something that wanted to be a lullaby but died in the pipes. Lights out didn't deliver darkness. It delivered a thinner light. The first scream came quick. A fight 2 cells down, metal on knuckle, a plea stitched out of breath. My chest tightened until it felt like someone pressed a cold coin under my sternum. I stared at the ceiling and counted the holes in the vent. 48, 40, 9, 50. Counting failed the way prayers do when you say them for the first time under duress. A boot slid across the run. A voice told everyone to face the wall. Something was dragged. I pressed my hands under the pillow and pretended they were warm, human knot tools. I pictured my apartment's chipped mug, the plant with the stubborn yellow leaf, my jacket, the one I didn't steal on the chair. Memory didn't comfort me. It accused me. When quiet returned, it wasn't quiet. It was a knot with breath. My cellie finally spoke. "You'll learn the rhythms," he said, eyes still on his thumbnail. "Keep your head level and your mouth shut." I can't do that. Everyone says that. Then the building teaches them something about themselves they didn't want to know. I wanted to ask what the building had taught him, but the question died. Instead I said thanks. He smirked like the word tasted wrong in here. I slept in stitches. A minute here, a torn hour there. In one of those stitches, a nightmare pulled me into the courtroom again. I stood to speak and couldn't remember my own name. When I woke, the cell had chilled. My throat ached from not crying. Morning arrived without a sunrise. We lined for chow. The room buzzed with plastic trays and coded greetings. A heavy man with a lightning scar bumped my shoulder hard enough to slosh coffee onto my wrist. "Watch it," he said. "Sorry." He leaned close enough that I felt the heat of him through the paper uniform. "Sorry is something you say before you do the thing. After it's tax." I nodded because nodding seemed like the correct currency. He laughed and walked off. Coffee cooled sticky on my skin. My hands shook, a small vibration I hid by pinning my fingers under the tray. In the yard, I learned the geometry of avoidance. I kept to the fence and memorized the signs I didn't understand. Whistles, looks, a sudden silence that meant move. Time stretched until it hummed. Back in the unit, I heard my name before I saw where it came from. Covington. The voice was flat, not unkind, the way a locked door might talk if it had a mouth. I turned, but the sound had already moved on, boots in a measured rhythm. Whoever had said my name didn't stop. That night, when the light thinned and the building found its nocturne, I lay on my back and made a promise I didn't say aloud. I would not become a story the walls told without me. I would not let the place erase the outline of who I was, even if that outline had already smudged. Somewhere on the run, Boots paused, Keys sighed. The metal square in our door slid with a soft complaint. A rectangle of brighter light cut across the floor and landed on my shoes. The air shifted like someone exhaled and then held it. No words, just presence. Then the square slid shut, the boots moved on, and the quiet tied itself again. I didn't know it then, but that pause would redraw the map of my time in here. At that hour, it was only a pause, and I was only a name learning its echo. Morning count stitched me back into the building. Our door rolled, we stood. In the corridor, a co-raid assignments from a clipboard. The voice that had paused at my door last night belonged to a square, jawed man with cooled, steel eyes. Covington, Noah, he said. Laundry after chow. The name bar said Hale. Chow tasted like a dare. Pikeyeth heavy with the lightning scarangled his tray into mine. Taxes due, he murmured. You spill on me, you pay me. I don't owe you, I said, soft as a wish. He smiled like that was permission. Hale's boots crossed tile. Keep the line moving. Pike drifted, leaving the promise in his grin. Hale's gaze touched me for half a second, cool as a coin on fever, then moved on. The laundry ran hot and loud. A trustee shoved me a cart and dull shears. Cut the loose threads, he said. You bleed on anything, they write you up. Pike found me anyway, flanked by 2 men with rented smirks. You have nothing, he said, eyeing the shears, so you pay with time. Mornings, I keep you off the menu. Heat bent the air. I locked my wrist to the cart so my hand wouldn't shake. No, he looked delighted. His knuckles tapped my ribs barely a touch, but the message walked in ahead of pain. Problem, Hale's voice unstitched the noise. He stood in the doorway like authority on a hook. Teach him from your distance, he told Pike. You want segregation detail, say it plain. Pike held his smile a beat, then folded it and drifted off. Hale's eyes scanned me like a gauge. You bleeding? No. Keep the blades away from your palm. This place will take your skin if you offer it. Only then did I see the thin red line ID drawn without knowing. He left before I could say thanks. By afternoon, Pike's interest matured. He pressed my shoulder into cinder block by the utility sink. Last chance to buy peace, he said. I breathed my answer instead of saying it. He didn't like the rate. The first punch folded the world, the second added light. A whistle blew, Keys barked. Hands hauled us apart. Against the wall, another co shouted. Cuffs clicked. When the corridor steadied, Hale stood in front of me, unreadable. Fighting, he asked it off me, his report, the ceiling. He hit me. That part's obvious. What part did you choose? I chose not to pay. Then you chose correctly and poorly. He signed a form on his palm. 2 pink slips bloomed. He tucked one into my pocket without touching me. Proximity that felt like touch anyway. You lose commissary for a week. He loses yard for 2. Next time you call it before it calls you. They walked Pike away. He grinned over his shoulder like a calendar promising worse weather. Hale nodded to another officer. Get him to medical. To me, don't look noble, it reads as arrogant. The infirmary smelled like plastic and mint. A nurse cleaned my cheek. Head hurt, only when I think. Good thing this place doesn't encourage it. Tape bit skin. When I stood, Hale stood too. I hadn't heard him come in. Sign, he said, pointing at a line. Refusal of additional treatment. If you pass out later, I get to say I warned you. I signed. He watched the pen move like handwriting was a test. You called me by my first name. I said before I could stop myself. I read the band. Don't imagine tenderness where there's procedure. I didn't. His eyes softened, or maybe I wanted them to. Listen, Covington. 3 rules. Don't owe. Don't promise. Don't isolate. Pick 2 and you might survive. I already broke the first by breathing near Pike. Breathing's taxed universally. The corner of his mouth remembered what a smile was. Back to laundry. My cellie waited at the door. Patience packed tight as worry. He studied the gauze, then the pink slip. Congratulations, you're learning quick. I lost commissary. You gained a reputation. Costs more. Pays better if you don't die. He lowered his voice. And the square, jawed one. Don't let attention sit on you. People notice patterns. I don't have his attention. Everyone has someone's attention. Be sure you can't afford the bill. Lights thinned, the unit exhaled into its strange night. I lay with my hands on my chest to remind my ribs they belonged to me. Boots counted, the slot slid. The same rectangle of light climbed the frame of my bed. Something thin and folded dropped through me mugshot printout, cut from some admin packet, my stunned face in grayscale. On the back, neat block letters, "Keep this. Don't-y leave it in property." The handwriting said nothing about who. The timing said everything. I rolled so my cellie wouldn't see. The paper felt warmer than it should. I slid it under the mattress and pretended to sleep until sleep came for real. In a dream that felt like memory with labels peeled off, I walked a windowless hall. A door opened behind me. A voice I recognized by how it used silence said, "Walk I did." When I woke, I knew two things: consequences multiply, and first contact can look exactly like a man doing his job if you squint. I had a name for the boots now. I tried it in my mouth like a secret, Hale. The gauze stayed on my cheek for 3 days before it peeled in the shower. Every face in the unit seemed to look through it like a window. Pike's grin traveled ahead of him. I kept my eyes away. I learned how silence could be a weapon and a shield at the same time. Laundry detail became routine. Carts, steam, the rhythm of folding. Hale's presence wasn't routine. He passed the rows, eyes scanning, but I always felt when his shadow landed. Once, when a sleeve slipped from my hands, his boot stopped it before it touched the floor. He handed it back without words. My fingers brushed the fabric, but my skin remembered his nearness instead. Nights blurred into a single stretched thread. At lights out, I kept the paper photo under my mattress. I traced my own frozen expression with a thumb until the ink smudged. My cellie never asked, though sometimes his gaze lingered too long, as if he knew something had shifted in me. The spark arrived not as lightning, but as accident. In the corridor, Pike shouldered me into the wall. "Still, oh me," he hissed. I steadied myself, heartbeat sharp. Hale appeared from the far end, boots measured. Pike melted away like smoke. Hale's eyes caught mine, and for the first time they stayed. "Walk with me," he said. We moved through a service hall that smelled of bleach and steel. He didn't speak until the echo of others disappeared. Then quietly, "You can't win against him. Stop trying. I'm not trying. I'm just not bowing." His jaw worked a second, then eased. "That will break you faster than his fists." He stopped, turning to face me. "Why keep resisting? Because if I don't, I disappear." My voice cracked, but it was true. Something flickered in his ice recognition, maybe. His hand hovered at my shoulder, close enough that the heat of it cut through the thin uniform. He didn't touch, he didn't have to. My chest answered anyway, a thrum like a secret drumline. A door clanged somewhere. Hale dropped his hand, stepping back into the safe distance. "Return to your unit," he said, voice flat again. I walked away, but every nerve still carried the ghost of where he hadn't touched me. That night, the slot opened again. No photo this time, just silence that held longer than before. The rectangle of light stretched across my chest, then vanished. I closed my eyes, pretending the warmth was still there. By the 4th week, I thought I understood the rhythm. Pike's threats, my silence, Hale's shadow that sometimes cut the tension in half. It was dangerous comfort, and comfort is a trap in here. The break came sudden. Laundry shift again, steam thick as fog. I bent over a cart when 2 fists caught my ribs. The air left me like I'd been unzipped. Pike pinned me against the wall, his smile wide enough for both of us. "Your friend isn't here today," he whispered. "No boots to save you now." I tried to shove him off. He pressed harder, his breath sour against my cheek. Fear tasted like iron on my tongue. Somewhere behind him, a door slammed. "Enough." Hale's voice cut the air. He dragged Pike back with a force that made the others scatter. For a second, I thought I was safe, but then I saw the way Hale's fist clenched, the way his control frayed. He wanted to hurt Pike more than he should. 2 other officers rushed in, shouting. Hale's hand lingered on Pike's collarbone too long before he let go. The other guards noticed, eyes flicked between us, suspicion already writing itself into reports. That night, whispers filled the unit. "Why does the rookie laundry boy get Hale's protection?" One man said loud enough to travel. Another laughed, "Maybe he's earning it after lights out." The kind of laugh that sticks like a knife. In my cell, my cellie finally spoke. "You're a problem now. Guards don't pick sides unless there's a reason. People will assume the reason. I didn't ask him." "Doesn't matter. Assumption kills quicker than fists." He tapped the wall once, like a warning bell. Sleep never came. At midnight, the slot slid. The light rectangle framed Hale's eyes. He didn't speak. I wanted to ask why he risked himself, why his presence burned hotter than the fear around me. Instead, I whispered, "You made it worse." His jaw tightened. For a moment, I thought he'd answer. Instead, the slot closed. Boots faded. The silence after was heavier than Pike's weight, heavier than all the threats. Because now I knew two truths. Pike could break my body, but Hale's attention could break everything else. Rumors moved faster than carts. By week 5, Pike grinned wider, Hale watched quieter. The space between those facts tightened. Danger came disguised as routine. Laundry, steam, someone killed the lights over our lane. A hand hooked my collar, another pinned my ribs to warm metal. Something thin touched my side sharp enough to edit breath. Tax Covington, Pike whispered, or I collect interest. I froze. The point kissed skin. A baton clicked open. Back away, Hale said. Pike's weight lifted, the blade lingering like a thought that wanted back in. 2 officers entered, voices big. In the half, dark, their eyes jumped to Hale first. Him near me again, me near trouble again. Lights up, Hale ordered. Fluorescence coughed awake. No blade, just a red comma on my side. Hands visible, another co-bark. My hands shook, Hale saw. Medical, he said to me. Infirmary, bleach and mint. The nurse taped me. When she stepped away, Hale stood in the doorway like a hinge resisting rust. Report, he asked, against a shadow. Shadows get names if you speak them, and if I do, am dead. He didn't argue. He looked at my side without touching. You can request protective custody, isolation. Your rule said not to. Rules are for people with options, he exhaled. I asked for a camera over that lane. It'll watch us both. Back in the unit, a shakedown tore through cells. When they finished, the photo under my mattress was gone. In its place, a torn square. Where did you get this? Reunion came as consequence. Hale called me to a white hallway. Internal wants to talk, he said. Say what's true. Nothing about me beyond procedure. There's nothing to say about you. That's the right amount. 2 investigators wore the same haircut. Do you feel an officer gives you special treatment? I feel like I have a target because I want pay. Names. Everyone has names. I gave none. They let me go with a warning dressed as care. One slid a pamphlet across the table. Reporty. Eyeing options in gray boxes. I left it there, touching it felt like signing my own warrant. In the hall, Hale waited far enough away to be deniable. Well, they wanted a story I didn't have. You have one, he said. You're not telling it. I'm trying not to make it worse. It may get worse anyway. The new threat arrived with dinner. The tray felt heavier. Under the cornbread, wrapped in plastic, lay a toothbrush handle fused around a sliver of metal. My stomach dropped. My celly hissed, Thayer planting. Don't touch it. I slid it back, carried the tray steady, and dumped it at scullery like it burned. Later, Tukos visited with the practiced sadness of men who expect to win. They searched, found nothing. That felt worse. At lights out, the slot opened and held for 7 breaths. Then a whisper, low enough to be deniable. Don't eat anything sealed. Don't drink anything left at your door. Keep your back to the wall in showers 3 and 5. No name. Didn't need one. I lay awake and counted my rules like talismans. Don't owe. Don't promise. Don't isolate. I had broken and kept each in different ways. I pressed my palm over the bandage and tried a new sentence until it fit. Survive tonight, decide tomorrow. Down the run, a man laughed until it turned to coughing. Keys spoke, then quiet. The building went back to its low animal breathing. I pictured a camera staring at a door. I pictured a report with my name sharper than I felt. I pictured Hale writing his smaller. Danger had arrived, reunion had come, and the new threat sat between them like a choice I hadn't made yet. I closed my eyes and searched for any version of myself that wasted both witness and accessory. When sleep finally found me, it brought a bad gift, the lights dropping, a hand at my ribs. I woke with my heart running and metal in my mouth, and new morning would ask me to stand again, as if standing were simple. The unit hummed like a beehive before storm. After the planted shiv incident, eyes followed me tighter, whispers pressed harder. Pike's grin no longer needed words. It carried promises I couldn't afford. Hale kept distance, but distance burned louder than his presence. He passed in the corridors without pause, spoke my name only in roll call tones. Still, I caught the flick of his eyes, measuring if I was intact. That flick felt like a rope I was dangling from. The climax arrived in layers. First layer, chow. Pike slid into line behind me, tray clattering against mine. Funny how knives vanish around you, he whispered. Funny how cameras miss what you do. His hand tapped my hip, right where Hale's warning had kept me alive. Maybe you're more staff than inmate. Laughter spread like spilled coffee. Rumor had matured. I was a traitor or worse, someone's property. In here, either label kills. Second layer, the cell. My celly's patience cracked. Your poison, he said. Anyone near you gets marked. He pointed at the vent. They'll smoke you out if they can't cut you. You know that, right? I wanted to argue. Instead, I sat on the thin mattress and pressed fingers into my bandaged side. I didn't ask for this, I said. No one asks, some just cost too much. He turned away, leaving me with silence that hurt sharper than his words. Third layer, night, the slot opened, rectangle of light on my chest, Hale's voice at last, low, stop unless you let me move you, protective custody, I whispered. Yes, isolation, you said never isolate. He didn't answer, his breath filled the pause, I pushed harder. Why are you doing this? Why me? Keys rattled down the run, he should have shut the slot, he didn't. Because you remind me of someone who survived, and I don't want to watch that erased again. I sat up, pulse loud enough to drown steel. That's not procedure, no, he admitted. The silence between us broke like glass. Boots pounded, shouts, a fight 2 cells down. Hale slid the slot, vanished. I pressed my palms to the metal door, warmth fading. Confession had happened half, born, fragile as a match flame in wind. Fourth layer, betrayal, morning count, investigators returned. One read from a clipboard, allegations of staff misconduct. They pulled me aside, eyes sharp. Do you have a relationship with Officer Hale? The word relationship landed like a blade, my chest locked. Behind them, Hale stood still, jaw tight enough to break bone. I said nothing, silence is survival. But silence was also confession dressed in different clothes. They logged notes, muttered codes. Well, follow up, one said. When they left, Hale passed close. His voice brushed my ear without moving lips. Say nothing, ever. I wanted to nod, to scream, to reach. Instead, I stood in line, heart beating like it had stolen seconds. That night, no slot opened, no light, no paper, no breath. Just absence, and absence thundered louder than presence ever had. I lay on my bunk and understood. Climax need fireworks. Sometimes it's a whisper, a warning, and then the echo of boots that don't stop at your door. But I also knew one more thing. Hale had crossed his own lines, and so had I. The bond was no longer rumor. It was truth with teeth, ready to tear us both apart. The week after the investigation felt like living in a glass box. Every look carried weight. Every silence suggested knives. Pike's crew circled slower, like sharks saving hunger for later. But the absence hit harder. Hale no longer passed my door. His boots avoided my run. The slot stayed dark. At chow, he never called my name. Another officer did. Each omission scraped me rower than Pike's fists ever had. I told myself distance meant safety, but nights stretched longer. I pressed my hand to the mattress where the photo had been, remembering the heat of paper that once felt like proof. Days bled into sameness laundry, whispers, routine punishments, until one night alarms split the air. A fight in the yard turned riot, sirens inside walls, red strobes spun madness. In the chaos, Pike found me. He slammed me against cinder block, blade glinting. Nowhere to hide, Covington. Your guardian's gone. The blade pressed my throat. Breath froze, then a shadow broke between us. Hale, his hand clamped Pike's wrist, force uncoiling like stored rage. The blade clattered, boots thundered, shouts layered. Pike was dragged away screaming, veins full of curses that promised return. Hale's eyes locked on mine, close enough to drown out the riot. You should have taken protective, he said, voice cut raw. I didn't want walls inside walls. You already live in one. His jaw worked. I can't keep doing this. But his hand lingered on my arm a beat too long, thumb brushing fabric like apology. It was the first true touch, hidden by chaos. They separated us before it could mean more. Days later, investigators came back. Hale was gone from the roster, reassigned or suspended. I never learned which. The rumor mill said head cross lines, too close to an inmate. My name passed in whispers again, softer this time, like smoke that won't clear. In my cell, my new cellie asked, "Why's your door so quiet at night?" I didn't answer. Because the truth was silence now. Silence and the memory of a hand that had stopped a blade and touched my arm like it mattered. Weeks turned to months. Pike's absence after segregation didn't comfort me. His grin waited somewhere. Hale's absence hurt sharper. The building kept teaching me the same lesson. Survival is subtraction. You subtract hope, subtract need, subtract memory until you fit, but some things refuse subtraction. At lights out, I sometimes imagine the slot opening, light cutting my chest, a folded paper sliding through. I imagine his voice walk. I imagine myself obeying, instead only quiet. The day my release date finally arrived, the officer at property slid me a box. Clothes, wallet, laces, the jacket I hadn't stolen. At the bottom, a photo mugshot ID lost. On the back, in the same block letters, survive. No signature, no proof, just the message. I stepped outside the gates, air strange in my lungs, sun too sharp. People moved past, free and unaware. I held the photo tight, as if warmth still lived in it. Freedom didn't feel like ending. It felt like another corridor, door at the far side, and somewhere beyond it, boots pacing in silence, waiting.